With Thomas Frank becoming the new Tottenham Hotspur manager and replacing the outgoing and sacked Ange Postecoglou, attention now turns to the transfer window, and it's going to be a massive summer for Tottenham because this squad probably needs a massive overhaul. Some players need to be kicked out and some massive signings need to be made. We may have won the Europa League, but Thomas Frank needs certain players to make this squad better and climb up the table. So today on the Sonny Talk Spurs YouTube channel, we're going to be picking the perfect signings for Thomas Frank at Tottenham. But if you are new to the channel, then leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and also in the comments down below, let me know who you want Frank to sign. It's a massive summer. It is a huge summer for Tottenham. As I said in the intro, we may have won the Europa League, but this squad needs a bit of fine-tuning to get the best of it. And with a manager like Thomas Frank, who's going to be a bit more pragmatic, change and be versatile in his tactics and approach, we need some versatile players who are going to make an impact. And on today's video, I've done a few of these sort of videos where I've picked 5 signings, a few signings to sort of divvy up what we need. But today I'm going to pick one player per position that we need to sign. I'm going to pick a defender, I'm going to pick a midfielder, and I'm going to pick an attacker, just to make it a bit more clear, because I think it makes sense. And now this video is a bit more clearer because some of my previous transfer videos, we didn't know who the manager was, we didn't know what Spurs' outlook was going to be in the transfer window. But since that window, the first window slammed and shut for the Club World Cup, the second window is now open and Tottenham are looking around in the transfer market. And there's been varying reports saying Tottenham will spend big this summer for Frank. They might not, but the overall seems that Daniel Levy seems that he will put his hand in his pocket to help Tottenham improve going into next season. But a good promising thing is we've already made a signing. Mathys Tel became permanent. I think the fee in general for this was not too bad. You know, the €10 million loan fee is probably about £8 million in pounds, £30 million fee. So overall, you're looking at about £40 million for Mathys Tel, who I think we'll get more out of from Thomas Frank. You know, you look at how Frank has dealt with different attackers. He had Neil Maupay at Brentford. He had Ollie Watkins, Ivan Toney, Yoanne Wissa, and Bryan Mbeumo, and he's got different things out of them. And I think Mathys Tel, sort of chucked in the deep end at Spurs, was sometimes a left winger under Ange, then a striker. I think we could see him explode and get quite a few goal contributions. So I'm happy with this signing. And another promising thing is, I said that this squad needs an overhaul. I've sort of said which players who I think should leave in a previous keep, sell, loan video. So it is quite obvious that Frank will come in and improve a lot of these players, like the youngsters, your Berevals, your Archie Grays, your Papamatasars. So that is quite promising. And Frank has also gone on record to say how much he likes this Spurs squad.
I think that's a big expectation. I know they haven't had the best season, but if you look at their lineup, just take their front three, I think a lot of clubs would have taken them any day. I know more play there could be Kulusevski, but let's say their midfield, Kulusevski, Bentancur, Bissouma. That's a very, 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 very good Premier League midfield. And then I know they haven't had a centre-back, but maybe Gray and Bennett and Davies played the best defensive game of the season. So Porro is fantastic as right-back. He's got Trent-ish offensive qualities, and Spence have done very well, Kingsley. So we can't expect... If we expect that, then there's something wrong with our fans, or something wrong with... In the Premier League, it's difficult every game.
You do that in...
So, as I said, I'm going to be doing a defender, a midfielder, and an attacker. So where better to start than the defence? And the thing with a Thomas Frank defence is, as I say, he's versatile. He can play a back three. He can also play a back four or back five, you know, sometimes back three. And I think that'll be good. We've got loads of good wing backs who are versatile. Jed Spence, Destiny Udogie, Pedro Porro. We've got centre backs, Christian Romero. Obviously depends on his future. Diego Simeone actually went on record and said that he likes Cusi Romero, so be interesting to see what happens with him this summer. Mickey van der Ven, Luka Vuskovic looks like he potentially will try and stay and, you know, get into this first team under Frank. Radu Dragason's injured, but in and out. Kevin Danzo at centre-back. there's a lot of options. But, as I say, with the Cuti Romero news, there is that potential that Tottenham might need to get another defender. They looked at Mark Gahey, but that doesn't look like a viable option. So, when it comes to defenders, and we've seen this with Arsenal, versatile defenders are important. And I think there's one name who's popped up, and he's been linked with Spurs really recently, and it is Jorrel Hato from Ajax. There was reports from Ben Jacobs, who was speaking on the Last Word on Spurs podcast, saying Tottenham discussed Ajax's 19-year-old midfielder defender, Jorrel Hato. And I like the idea of this. 19 years old, left-footed, Ajax, they play that Cruyffian total football style. They've always sort of played that, haven't they? The sort of possession-based and versatile players. Left-footed is always needed because, with Mickey van der Ven's injury record, it's, a worry. But hopefully in this system, Mickey van der Ven will not be getting as injured. So I think Jorrel Hato makes a lot of sense. I've occasionally said about Hincapié as well for Leverkusen, but looks like he might be on the move to somewhere else. So I think this one, we've seen how Jurrien Timber has done at Arsenal, that versatility, that sort of he can play centre-back, he can play right-back. I think it's just another option, and left-footed would also mean that there's a lot of potential in this. But I like the idea of Jarrad Branthwaite. But again, I think you're looking at a bigger fee for him. I think Jorrel Hato you could get out of Ajax for a lot cheaper. Ajax, in a bit of turmoil at the moment. Not as good as they have been in recent years. But yeah, I like the idea of this as my defender. And, Tottenham's defence has been an issue for the last couple of years, especially under Ange Postecoglou, leaking goals left, right and centre. So a bit of stability, I think, would go a long, long way in defence. We move on now to the midfield, and the midfield is a intriguing one for Spurs. A lot of Thomas Frank's formations have been the 4-2-3-1, which will benefit Spurs a lot because that lone six, well, we've been crying out for it as a position, but I think having two in there, helping and defending that back four will be a must. The problem is, when it comes to Tottenham's midfield, is there's an issue because I'm confident the player next to a six can be anyone. I think you could put Archie Gray in there, you could put Lucas Bergvall in there, you could put Bentancur in there, Papa Mathys in there. That's the midfielder who's going to, maybe pick the ball up and drive with it and sort of maybe do more in the attacking third. When in Ange Postecoglou's system, this player was not the 6, they were the 8. We even saw the likes of James Maddison playing there, Dejan Kulusevski in the 8s, but none of them were the perfect 6. The near enough player who, I don't want to say perfect, but who played that position a bit better was Bentancur. But with him obviously being inconsistent, I don't fancy him in there supporting, say, it's Bentancur and Saul, Bentancur and Bergvall. I prefer it if it was just, just someone else who came in and helped out those youngsters especially. I mean, I've even gone on record on Inside Spurs on talkSPORT and said how I think Lucas Bergvall will be, an elite midfielder in any position that he would like.
Let's go for the young player breakthrough talent of the season. Of course, I think we're probably going to say the same name.
I mean, it's easy, isn't it? Lucas Bergvall. The way he's grown as well, and chucked in at the deep end, because I remember when he had signed, everyone was like, oh, he's going to get loaned out, isn't he? And then he made the provisional squad and we're like, okay, we're going to keep him around. Yeah, that's fine. But he's just maturity as that season's gone on, because there were moments in the early stages of the season where he'd come on, he'd make mistakes, he'd give the ball away. He still probably did that at the latter stage. But the way he was sort of running around the pitch, he was a bit headless chicken and you sort of saw his age and he couldn't really get on the ball. But what summed him up this season was he was the best player in both legs against AZ Alkmaar. Bearing in mind, in that first leg, he scored an own goal. I don't know how much he really knew about it, but the way he sort of, dictated, and I think he was one of the big misses in that Europa League final. Luckily, Papa Mathys came in and did the same job and got the assist. So, on another day, it could have been a whole lot different. But I just feel like that raw energy, and, when I talk to rival fans about him, whether they're Chelsea, Arsenal, West Ham, whoever, they all actually, when we sometimes have to sit back and go like, oh, like, Wanyeri is a good player for Arsenal or whatever. people are now saying about Bergvall, they're like, right, this guy's a talent, and I'm worried
Yeah.
he could be the next Modric. Or the thing is, what's good about him now is he's still so young. He can now dictate his future.
But who should we sign as that elite six then? That is the question. Now, I've gone on record to say I love Carlos Baleba at Brighton Hove Albion and Adam Wharton at Crystal Palace. The problem with these two signings is it's going to cost a lot of money. I think Brighton would want 70, 80 million. Wharton, I mean, I don't know how you price him. But the problem with Palace is I think they'll sell another high-profile asset before they sell Adam Wharton. Maybe a Mark Gahey, maybe an Eberechi Eze, who we'll get onto shortly. So I'm going to put forward a player who has been playing in the Premier League for a few years now, is playing for a potentially selling club, who have already sold two high-profile assets, which is my worry, because if they've already sold two high-profile assets, are they going to sell another player? We've not actually been linked with this player. There's been some rumours about some others, but I think that Joao Gomes at Wolves would be a really good six. I think the way he picks up the ball, the way he moves it on, in a Wolves side, which again have been inconsistent, I think he has shone in that midfield. They used to obviously have the likes of Ruben Neves and João Moutinho, but Joao Gomes has stood out still in this Wolves side, and under Vitor Pereira was very good. I like the idea of Joao Gomes playing in the Frank system. When you look at Frank's 4-2-3-1 that he played at Brentford, he usually had the player who would do all the dirty work, the player who would pick up the ball, sweep up, protect that back four. I think Joao Gomes could do that quite well. And then, as I mentioned, those other midfielders that we got at the club, maybe we move some on, maybe we keep some, they can then really, get the most out of them in an attacking sense and support the likes of the wingers and the attacking 10. But yeah, Joao Gomes is the player I will go for. And finally, the attack. Now, I think Tottenham need an X-factor attacker. And what do I mean by that? I mean a player who's going to be a superstar, a statement signing. And this is probably the area we've been linked to the most. I said we've already signed Tell, but I think another signing will come in this position. And if you look at what we've got so far, I don't think we need a striker. A backup striker maybe, but Solanke's obviously going to be really good under Frank, I believe. He will probably be like Ivan Toney was, Ollie Watkins, really getting the most out of them. But when it comes to attackers, I think wingers is obviously a viable option. Brennan Johnson, I think, would be good under Frank, getting more goals out of him. We mentioned Tell, Mikey Moore. 10s, I think we're fine as well, with Maddison and Kulusevski, but they're injury prone. And there's been quite a few players we've been linked to. We've obviously been linked to Bryan Mbeumo, who has actually, been open to a move to Spurs in recent weeks after Thomas Frank announced he was coming to Tottenham, but Manchester United are interested in him as well.
It is a time of change at the club. Thomas Frank moves on. What would you say he's done for you in your career?
Yeah, he's done so much for me. He literally trusted me from the start, and yeah, I think he developed the team so well. He developed me as a human and a player so much as well. So I can only wish him all the best, and I'm sure he's going to do well.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a very nice way about him. Great football brain as well.
Yeah, of course. I think he knows everything. He knows he's really smart. He knows where he wants to bring the team, how he wants to play. So. Yeah, I think he's been fantastic for Brentford.
Different challenge at Tottenham, it's a big club, big expectations. How do you think that's going to go?
Yeah, I think he's going to have some time to adapt, obviously. Now it's going to change for him. UCL games, more expectations, as you said, and yeah, but I'm sure he's going to do well.
You've had Xavi Simons being linked, you've had Eberechi Eze, you've had Yoanne Wissa, to name but a few. I feel like Antoine Semenyo would be a good option. There's quite a lot of names circulating. Jack Grealish has been linked, but I'm not sure on that one at all. As for the wages. But how do I see this going? Now, I'll be honest. I would be happy with any of these signings, really, as I mentioned. Wissa, I mean, he's a bit older, but he brings that experience. But if we're going to Brentford to get one of their players, I'd rather Mbeumo, can play on the right, can play as a striker if we need to as well, maybe on the left as well. Eze, versatile across that whole forward line, left wing, right wing, centre attacking mid as well. And also, Xavi Simons is that versatile as well. I think Xavi Simons would be a bit tricky, but I do like the idea. And Semenyo, amazing wing option, but I'd want Semenyo, but I think I'd want someone on top of him with Semenyo. Someone like I'd like Eze and Semenyo, or Xavi Simons and Semenyo, to name but a few. But this is the one where I'm not sure. I can't pick one name in particular. So maybe let me know in the comments down below which one of these attackers would be the perfect fit for Spurs, especially under Thomas Frank.
Let's talk about your former club. Of course, they have a new manager in Thomas Frank. What did you make of his arrival, and what did you make of the departure of Ange?
So with Ange, I wasn't surprised, especially as it went quiet after the season. As soon as they won the trophy, and there was nothing. And for me, then that was massive signals for getting rid of him. So I wasn't surprised there. I think Thomas Frank's a great appointment. I really do. I think he's done brilliant.
What will his brief be for Tottenham? Because of course the manager's just won a trophy, right?
Yeah.
But the league form was appalling. In fact, from your perspective as an ex-player, what's more important in a season? A good, decent run in the Premier League, finish 6th and no trophy, or an awful season in the Prem, Spurs, but you win a European trophy?
Yeah, that's a really tough one. Like I said, Dave. Well, you get both. So at the start of the season, you always have your objectives. And as Spurs, when I was coming through, it started off, let's get top 6. As we started to progress, it was top 4. That was always the aim. Top 4, Champions League football. Obviously, they've won a trophy now and got Champions League football. But to finish 17th is not good enough. So I think for Spurs, it was always now. But the squad was always to aim Champions League. I think that would have been the objectives at the start of the season. Obviously, they've got it by winning a trophy, but obviously the league form was appalling.
And you think Thomas Frank's definitely the right coach for the job? We had Jermaine on, he said he's the perfect man for the job.
Yeah, well, I said he ticks all the boxes for Tottenham.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he ticks all them boxes. It's a difficult one because Brentford and Spurs, no disrespect to Brentford, it's a completely different ball game. It's a completely different football club. But I think, like I said, he's earned his stripes, so to speak, and I think this is the right one. I think it is the perfect one.
I don't know if you read, there are suggestions that Spurs have held talks with Bryan Mbeumo.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Thomas Frank connection there.
Yeah.
Where would you rather go right now?
As in
Spurs or Man United?
If I was him, Spurs all day. Yeah.
Okay, why?
I think, firstly, it's his former manager, which I think will help.
Yeah.
And I just think, I don't know, it's the difficult system with Man United. It's a difficult one, I think, to play as him. I think he can play that role, no doubt. He could play that role. I think he's brilliant. But I think he's just the perfect match to play in a 4-2-3-1. The way Spurs play, I really think he would suit the thing, and I think it would be a great step for him.
Okay. My last question to you, I don't know if you saw one of your former teammates, Carl Walker. Do you see what he said?
No.
He said he'd be happy to give up one of his league titles to have won the Europa League with Spurs.
Really? I didn't see that.
What did you make of that?
That surprises me, that.
Yeah.
That surprises me.
Yeah?
Like I said, for me, Premier League it's everything.
He's the pinnacle, yeah.
It's everything.
We've got enough of them.
I know, yeah, he's got a few. That's why he's saying.
Yeah. If he had one, he would give it up.
100%. So, because he's got a few of them. Yeah, I'd love a Europa League to add to the collection. So that surprises me, but fair play to him. He's got a few.
There we have it. Those are the players that I think Tottenham should be looking to sign to improve Thomas Frank's Tottenham's team. I just feel like we need to back him, and he needs these players to really be versatile and fit his multitude of systems. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below who you'd sign. Leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and until next time, stay tuned for another video coming up. But until then, up the Spurs, and see you then. Bye.